All right, so I guess if there was going to be a secret video for week one, it would be this video being recorded at about 8:45 p.m. on Saturday night, September 9th, before the opening weekend, opening Sunday of the NFL, right? So I've updated the depth charts, which I still think it's kind of suspect how updated these depth charts really are, because I see stuff like Marcus Mariota being on here, and I thought he was cut, for the Eagles. So I don't understand what's happening here and whether or not these people are getting removed or whether he's still technically on the roster. I don't know. But I did make the changes here, and I also updated the injury report. So these are the two things, or there's the 5 depth chart sheets, and then there's the injury report. It's important to do all of those because then your projection pivot sheet gets updated when you refresh this. So after doing all that, we now get what I would say the most current look before you can start planning out your wagers for the games on Sunday. Because even though there'll be an update to the injury report in the morning, I've always thought that the Saturday injury report is even better because you get the guys on here that are questionable and doubtful, and you need to know that. Like, you need to know, because if they're like that on Saturday, even if they play, but they were a heavy questionable the day before, they're not going to be 100% most of the time. And so it's good to see that as we look at the simulations. So after doing all that, we're going to go game by game, and we're going to try to draw the assessment on every game. It's going to be super long video. I'm not going to do timestamps, but I will do the games in order. So if you want to scroll through to one of the games, you'll be able to keep track of this by the order with which these teams are here. So let's start with Chicago and Green Bay. Think Chicago will win. It's coming up light on Green Bay players though, right? So when you look at those two teams being Chicago and Green Bay, you put the comparison, you see that this game is in Chicago, so they're already home. Green Bay, like I said, a whole new team. They're so weak at things like tight end, wide receiver. The only place where they have some numbers is running back with Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. Okay. So you would think that any points that are expected out of Green Bay are going to be running related points, because that's at least where they have a slight advantage over the Bears run game, because the Bears got rid of Montgomery, right? He just went to Detroit and, helped win a game against Kansas City. So they're going to rely more on Fields doing some running. I heard some rumblings from people who had this file that thinking that Justin Fields' rating is too high and that it's rating him things like higher than Mahomes and stuff. And it's doing that, but it's not doing it with a bias. It's doing it because his quarterback rating and then also his rushing stats, which get added together in here, give him a higher rating. I mean, look at this. It has to do with he's got a 42% run score also, meaning he's such a threat to run the ball in addition to, I guess, an okay QB rating, that that's what pushes his percentage way up. And all it's doing is it's giving more of a potential to players that have that ability to run and throw at the same time. Kyler Murray used to be like that before he took so many injuries. And so there's a reason it's doing it. So we'll just keep going with it until it shows us that maybe that's not the way to go, but it probably is the way to go because I've been doing this for so many years. It's going to probably try to throw it to DJ Moore. Kicking game. All right. So in a game like this, any questionables? Tanyan. All right. So Detroit's passing game goes to Cole Kmet if you're looking for your fantasy tight end in that game for Chicago, because you do have that questionable. And then on Green Bay, you've got a questionable Romeo Doubs, a wide receiver. Other than that, look at how they have no receiving core. They've got nothing but new receivers. Jalen Reed, Dontavian Wicks, Malik Keith. These guys are probably going to get some numbers. And I've left their numbers out completely. So I just said I'm probably undercutting the points for Green Bay a little bit here. So call it like 24-17 or 24 even to 20 potentially at the most if some of those guys catch and score another touchdown here. So, I mean, the line is only -118. I always say never listen to me, always listen to the algorithm. As much as I'm trying to fight against thinking the Bears are a good pick, it does put them on as the #1 pick because of this, because of all the new players. So it's on there. It's not my survivor pool choice because of the Green Bay issue, but they probably win. So it really should go on a round robin as a winner And I mean, there have been worse lines than minus 118 at home. Like looking back on it, if they win, you're probably like, man, why didn't I take the Bears at number 1 on here at minus 118? Like that was kind of ridiculous. Like even if they lose, it's almost even money. So in that sense, it probably says take the Bears. All right. So that's number 1. Next, Jacksonville and Indianapolis. People are talking that Jacksonville is good. They're away and they get the minus 220 in Indianapolis. Indianapolis, however, is going with a new quarterback. And so when you look at these teams where you have Indianapolis and Jacksonville right next to each other, you see that Jacksonville gets the higher rating, even though they don't have more when it comes to QB ratings. They've have it in the wide receiver realm with Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, Jamal Agnew, Calvin Ridley, who I gave a 0.32. I put that in there for him. They got good ratings. So they have a receiving core. And Indianapolis has got 3 quarterbacks, but you really should remove even one of these because Minshew's probably not going to play. It's either going to be Richardson who starts and then a backup, I believe, is Ellinger. They have him down as the 3rd stringer, but I think he's the 2nd stringer. He seems like he should be. As you can see, his rating is better. Now, I'm tempted to not I have a thing against Jacksonville. Like when I see this as actually a really bad line. I know there's not a lot of hope for Indianapolis, and there's nothing that was shown from the preseason that thinks that Anthony Richardson's going to have a great game and play incredible. But it's still Indianapolis at home, and I don't like seeing a minus 220 on the road for a team like Jacksonville. Yeah, they played well. Whatever. Algorithm has them up here. It's just a tough call. I don't know what to say here because I just don't like those teams. Eagles are the one that I'm banking on as the survivor pool pick of the week. Notice we have them scoring more points than these other teams. So when you're looking at another category of teams that score the most points on the day, it's Philadelphia, the Chargers, and somehow the Browns. Unbelievable. This is weird. I'm really interested to see what happens in this game because I don't agree with this prediction at all in that game. But anyway, Eagles are my survivor pool pick of the day. They're also on the parlay. So I'm going Bears. I'm not gonna fight the algorithm. I'm gonna say that stop it. I'm not going to fight the algorithm. I'm going to say that, yes, these 3 are on a round robin to win. Commanders, yes, doing it. I don't really want to go through every single one of the. It's too much, guys. Like I got other stuff I need to do. So it's for you to do yourself, but understand if you want to do something to kind of even up this a little bit more, like when you see Washington's lineup, I don't think it's appropriate to put both quarterbacks in there. They're going with Howell, right? So you should be able to zero out Brissett. It's inflating their score potentially a little bit, but they're still supposed to win this game by 7. I mean, what's the injury situation on Arizona? This is definitely a game I'm watching. Not going to this game, but certainly watching this game. Should be a good time. Arizona is going to try to run it with Connor and go with Josh Dobbs as their QB. And they're questionable with Marquise Brown and Zach Ertz. I mean, probably playing, but still questionable. Yikes. Like, doesn't that seem like Washington runs over them? That's the other survivor pool pick. I want to give you 2. I want to give you 2 that I think are going to win. I've been saying that from the beginning. It's Philadelphia and it's Washington, even though they're 3 and 4 on this list. And then the Chargers game, which keeps showing a lot of points in it, showing the Chargers winning. So do you take these 5? This is the way the algorithm is supposed to work, guys. It's supposed to be easy. I'm not supposed to have to do a long video. I'm supposed to be able to say, hey, guess what? All these games where the projected margin of victory is more than a field goal, you should bet all these teams to win, which would be these guys right here. It'd be Bears, Jacksonville, Philadelphia, Washington, the Chargers, the Browns somehow over the Bengals, Atlanta, and Baltimore. I believe pretty much everything on here with the exception of the Browns. Let's go look at the Browns and see if we can get an answer before I leave you. The rest of them are supposed to be closer games and therefore do not sway strong in either direction. Okay. Here it's giving the Browns a decent rating when it comes to wide receivers, especially even tight ends and running backs and QBs. Who's the QB? It's Deshaun Watson. Some talent, but some off-season, not off-season, but off playing field problems. Joe Burrow is playing. He's apparently healthy. That right there in itself is enough for me not to want to take the Browns. The Browns are home in this game, though. Is Cincinnati's defense not what it was from a couple years ago? Maybe. There's no questionables on either team. How does this game go? This game has Nick Chubb running, Pierre as a strong backup, Pierre Strong, Amari Cooper, Peoples-Jones, and Marquise Goodwin get through to from Watson, who could be an offensive threat. All right, I kind of see a little bit of what's happening. And on Cincinnati, you've got Joe Mixon, also good running back, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. Man, it just seems like a really close game. It's tough. But the algorithm is putting the Browns over the top. And they're an underdog, too. It's the first time you see an underdog on here. But I don't want to argue with it. And I'm even staying away from the Ravens because this is insane. Minus 450. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. In season one, if you want to see a game where the algorithm would still be surprised if this was an upset, but if it ends up being Houston somehow scoring on Baltimore's defense, is that even possible? Let's take a look at Houston. Do they have any offensive potential? And Odell Beckham was questionable, by the way, on Baltimore. Another one. I know that he's playing, but he was still questionable. No, he's not questionable anymore. He's back. He's on the list. But Mark Andrews is questionable. That's a big gun. So that's something to note. Now, Houston has a one running back questionable, but they've got two other running backs, and Devin Singletary, Dameon Pierce. Their quarterback situation is a disaster. Davis Mills, but they're starting Stroud. They're starting Stroud, right? Yep, he's going. We put that in there for him, right? Because he's a rookie. So that's where the surprise, I guess, would happen, would be what happens if Stroud actually plays a really good game? All right, let me show you kind of what could happen here. Where is he? Oh, it's right down here. Let's give him, he plays like an amazing game. I don't know if that's possible or who this guy is, but let's say he plays an amazing game. And on top of that, Mark Andrews is out. So we remove questionables from the list, right? We open up all the other teams and we refresh the scores. Watch what happens. This is worst case scenario for Baltimore. Okay. It was 22-17. Now we refresh. And all of a sudden, Baltimore is 2016, almost within a field goal. The game goes under and somehow the Texans get an extra touchdown. It goes 23-20 Texans or something. So that's how this goes wrong for Baltimore. And notice some other things moved around when I just did all that. We're going to go back, though. We're not going to leave that. That was just for testing. So we're going to give C.J. Stroud the normal rating because we don't know how he's going to play. Now, when you do all this, yeah, like what do I want to leave you with as someone who spent some serious time with the NFL algorithm prior to week one? I would say trust the algorithm, don't listen to me. But do listen to me about the parameters of the algorithm, which are if the team's supposed to win by more than a field goal, because I keep getting asked that. They're like, Ken, what's the true win percentage on these games? Because you're sorting them by projected margin of victory. I'm telling you, I think about them in terms of scoring drives, meaning does the projected margin of victory, is it greater than 7? If it's more than 7, it means it's more than a full drive game, more than 8, really. If it's 8 or more, like these two being the Bears and the Jaguars, supposedly are not even within a one drive game. Like that is a huge disparity. So these two are really supposed to win. Then you've got the ones that are between 7 and 3, which is more than a field goal. It's these games, somewhere between a touchdown and a field goal. And then you have games that are less than a field goal, or certainly a one late drive field goal decision-making type game, which is all of essentially these ones. From San Francisco, the Giants, Saints, Vikings, Jets, Raiders, Seahawks. The Rams, by the way, got a kicker. They got a good kicker as well. They signed the Rams signed, because we didn't have a kicker for them as of last video. They signed Brett Maher, I believe. Yep, and he has a good rating. So that's taken care of. So that's pretty clean in here. And what it says about these games is these are all much closer games, which totally makes sense. So you can expect on here on these 8 games that it probably only goes about 4-4 down here, because these are one drive games that can go either way, and we're early in the season, right? So it's looking from here above, and notice that, you know, your ones down here are not as strong as ones up here. So if you're someone who believes in more premium picks, it's really only these top 5, which is the Bears, Jags, Eagles, Commanders, and Chargers. These lines, I've seen worse. This sums to 986. I don't know if that's what it is. I don't know what it pays when you throw all this together on a parlay, but that's what it would say. And certainly for a round robin, trying to hit you got to go probably 4-1 to make money on a round robin, mostly there. But it's very, very possible that this can go 5-0 because there's a ton of confirmation in all of these games. You have to have extra offense out of Miami and not enough out of the Chargers. You have to have the Arizona outplaying their roster. You have to have Philly not playing as good as they should when every sign is that they were so good last year, and Patriots don't have a ton of a reason to beat them, even though the Patriots are at home. This game, I just find suspect because I don't like these two teams, but Jacksonville on paper is supposed to do this, and the Packers are so light that the Bears can beat them at home. So in summary, guys, it's these 5, or for those who want to dangle with even more picks, it's these 8-ish or 7 right here. These games are going to be toss-ups, so you're not going to see me scratching my head unless the scoring is so far out of whack that we completely misjudge anything. I'm not going to get too angry losing some games down here. And if you do a survivor pool pick, like I said, I find both the Eagles and the Commanders to be the strongest, in my opinion, for survivor pool. All right, so that's the private video, which goes public after the games happen on Sunday. So good luck, everyone. May all your picks be winning, and especially these top 5. I'll consider it a successful week 1 if these 5 teams win their game. All right, so we'll see what happens.